again, we have 2 more eggs to go over today. The first one is this tan egg. When I shake it, I really don't hear anything inside, so I want you to think about what it could be while I'm reading the scripture. It's found in Matthew 27, verse 57 through 61. And when it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who himself had also become a disciple of Jesus. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered it to be given over to him. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in clean linen cloth and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the entrance of the tomb and went away. And Mary Magdalene was there, and the other Mary sitting opposite the grave. So, did you make a guess? What could be inside of this silent egg? Let's see. It's linen cloth. Okay, so linen cloth. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So some Jewish leaders actually did believe in Jesus as the Messiah, but they didn't say anything about it. They were a little afraid. It talks about Joseph of Arimathea, and there's another man named Nicodemus. They were both Jewish leadership in the group called the Sanhedrin. They were too afraid to say that they believed in Jesus because they were afraid of getting killed. They didn't want that to happen. But after Jesus passed away, Joseph of Arimathea, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He needed to tell someone that he believed in Jesus as the Son of God. So he did something. He was very bold. And he was also a very rich man. And being a rich man, he had already had a tomb ready for himself when he passed away one day. But he said, I believe in Jesus. I want him to be buried properly. So I'm going to use my grave in order for Jesus to have a nice place for his tomb to be settled. So do you know what Joseph did? Well, let's look in scripture. Let's see in Isaiah 53, verse 9. It says, his grave was assigned with wicked men, yet he was with a rich man in his death, because he had done no violence, nor was there any deceit in his mouth. So we know that Jesus was blessed with a rich tomb. And so Joseph of Arimathea, he went over to Pilate and he pleaded and asked, can I have Jesus's body so I can put him in my tomb? And Pilate said, okay. So Joseph got together and he put Jesus's body in linen cloth. And that linen cloth was used during Jesus' time to bury people properly. And that linen was to help preserve the body so it could stay healthy longer. Now, we know that was a blessing for Jesus. And we also know that could have been something that could have taken away Joseph of Arimathea's life. But Joseph was bold and he was courageous and he went for what was right, what he thought that God was calling him to do. And he put his life on the line to make sure that Jesus was well taken care of after he had passed away. I love that story. Okay, are you ready for one more egg today? That egg is a bright pink egg. So excited. Now, as I read the scripture, make sure you're thinking about what it could be. Okay, the scripture comes from Matthew 28, verses 1 through 3. Now, after the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to look at the grave. And behold, a severe earthquake had occurred, for an angel of the Lord had descended from heaven, and came and rolled away the stone and sat upon it. And his appearance was like lightning, and his garment as white as snow. What do you think? What could be inside of this egg based on the scripture? Let's find out. Make a guess, make a guess. It is a stone. A stone. Well, let's talk about more information about the stone. So it's said that in front of Jesus' tomb, there was a large stone. Well, the stone that was in front of it was humongous. It was wider than a door and it was heavier than a car. Well, I don't know about you, but I struggle just getting a rolly chair across my living room floor. I know I couldn't move that stone myself. So why did they put such a heavy stone in front of Jesus' grave? Well, during Jesus' time, there were people called grave robbers. And these grave robbers would steal things from the people who passed away's tomb. They could steal the body, or they could steal the beautiful items, the expensive items that some people were buried with. So they would take these items and make profit off of them. Well, the Roman government was really afraid that this was going to happen to Jesus' tomb. So you know what they did? They made sure that heavy stone was rolled in front of it because they were afraid that the disciples were going to steal Jesus' body and say, "Oh, look at Jesus, his body is gone. He's risen from the dead." When in actuality, the disciples would have had it. Well, we know that wasn't true, but the Roman government was afraid that was going to happen. So they put the big stone in front of it. And they also put a wax seal from the Roman government saying that if you open this tomb, if you open this grave, you will be put to death immediately. That was a big deal. Now, they were still so afraid. So you know what they did? They even put Roman soldiers in front of Jesus' grave saying, "I'm going to guard this day and night so that no one can come and try and steal Jesus' body." And we know that that was a very troublesome thing for the Roman government to think. But did they need to go through all of that struggle? I don't think so. We also know that there was a visitor. It mentioned that Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to visit Jesus. They came to anoint his tomb with spices, and they saw that the stone was moved away from the tomb. And that shocked them. And they were afraid. And they went into the tomb and they saw the linen cloth was in the tomb, but Jesus was not there. So when they had gone in, they were afraid. They were shocked. But Jesus had told them earlier that I'm not going to stay in this grave forever. I'm going to rise from this grave because it will no longer hold me. But Mary Magdalene and Mary, they didn't remember that. They forgot those words that Jesus said. And they had fear and confusion from it. So if they would have remembered what Jesus had spoken, they could have walked in with boldness and confidence. But sometimes when we're in trouble, sometimes we get fear. We get confused. And sometimes when we're going through hard situations, we don't remember the words that Christ has told us. When we read scripture, we remember that Christ and God are in control of our lives and they have it all planned out for us. So when we're in fearsome or troublesome times, hold on to scripture and remember that God has a path for you. He has a plan laid out and he's going to work good for you in every situation. And if Mary would have remembered that, it would have been a more peaceful time for them, because we know that the scripture brings joy, peace, happiness, and it brings a confidence and assurance that we know that God is in control. Okay, we have one more egg tomorrow, and I can't wait to talk more about it. See you later.